Welcome back to the water cooler, everybody. Look, the liberals have a lot of really liberal ideas. One of them is packing the courts. You've heard about that. We talked about that during the 2020 election. It's in the news again, and that's because Justice Stephen Breyer on Tuesday had a few things to say about the packing of the courts. Look at this. This is from the Associated Press. Breyer on Tuesday said liberal advocates of big changes at the Supreme Court, including expanding the number of justices, should think, quote, long and hard about what they're proposing. Politically driven change could diminish the trust Americans place in the court, Breyer said in the prepared text of a long speech he gave remotely Tuesday to Harvard Law School students, faculty, and alumni. So look, folks, when Stephen Breyer, a liberal, is concerned about packing the court, hello, warning bells. Does that not say something to you? Am I going to sing warning bells? I should sing it. No, I shouldn't. Trust me, I shouldn't sing it. Rick Green is joining us now, the Constitution coach, America's Constitution coach, founder of PatriotAcademy.com. Rick, always good to see you, sir.
I was waiting on you to say, danger, danger, Will Robinson. But right. I think that was his name. I don't know. That show's like 40 years, 50 years old. But anyway, yeah.
Rick, you're dating yourself. You realize. Danger,
hey,
wait, that's... Yeah, go ahead. What?
No, I was going to say, I think it's the first time in 30 years I've actually agreed with Stephen Breyer. I mean, look, like you said, this is one of the most liberal members of the court saying, packing the court is going to lose trust in the court. Listen, I think we have to talk about the real underlying problem is that the court continues to be doing things that it was never intended to do in the first place. Mm-hmm. Hamilton told us in Federalist 78 we would never have to worry about our liberty from the court as long as it didn't act like the legislature or like the executive, both of which it's been doing for about 50 years now. Mm. So this turmoil that we have in the country, every time somebody's going to be appointed to the Supreme Court, that would have been foreign to the Founding Fathers. They never thought that job would be that important. They're not supposed to make law. These are unelected, unaccountable lawyers in Washington, D.C. Just five out of the 9 are making law for 330 million people. That's wrong. It's unconstitutional. We've allowed it to go on for too long, and that's the real underlying problem here.
Yeah, for sure. You know what's interesting from a numbers perspective in the Constitution, right? There's no cap. There's no cap.
That's right.
So I don't know if you can explain a little bit about what the founders may have been thinking back then, because we know that it didn't start out at 9 Supreme Court justices. So what was the thinking behind all of this? I mean, what did they want to do? They didn't want to see a packing of the court, it doesn't seem like, but they didn't cap it either.
Yeah, so the number is somewhat irrelevant. I mean, they started with 6 originally. It went up to 10 at one point, back to 9. It was 7 at one point. That kind of bounced around for a while. It's been solid for, gosh, I guess almost 100 years now at 9. But again, the number is not as important as the job. Are they doing their constitutional role? Constitutionally, I love the way Congressman Steve King always said it. He said, constitutionally, we could reduce the federal judiciary to nothing more than Chief Justice John Roberts sitting at a card table with a candle. I mean, you could have one Supreme Court justice and still be constitutional. But what we need to do is focus on what are they doing? Are they outside their boundaries? And the only way to get them back in the box where they belong is to exercise Article 5 in the Constitution through a convention of states. And the states tell the court you're only allowed to do the things in Article 3 that the Constitution allows you to do, which is very simply to apply the law that the legislature makes to whatever facts are before you, or in rare circumstances, to rule on the constitutionality of a law. But right now, man, they tweak the law with these decisions. We don't live under the Constitution. I know I'm the Constitution coach, and we've got Constitution coaches all over the country. We teach the Constitution every day in America. But unfortunately, we don't live under the Constitution. We live under the Court-Stitution. We live under the law as made up by these judges. They get around their little kettle in their black robes. They throw a phrase in here and a phrase in there. They change it all the time. It's unstable. It's bad for America. We need to get back to the Constitution written on paper as the Founding Fathers intended it, not what these Supreme Court justices say it should be.
Yeah, the Court-Stitution. You got to trademark that, FYI, Rick. You got to run down to the trademark office and get that all set. Hey, all right, so the Constitution and vaccine passports. Look, come on. I mean, is it me? Am I wrong? This feels unconstitutional. I don't, now that's just a layman's interpretation. I don't know what's in the Constitution or what's not in the Constitution about this. It feels illegal. It feels unconstitutional. I want to get your take about this.
Yeah, let's just change a few letters. Instead of calling it a vaccine passport, let's call it vaccine papers. And just let that settle in your mouth for a moment. Think about that for a moment. Americans are going to have to present their papers to move from one place to another, to get on an airplane, to enter a state if you're New York or
That's
Illinois or
scary.
some of these
That's
other.
scary.
It is
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah,
There's
that's
nothing in
scary.
the Constitution that gives the government the power to do this. Absolutely not.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit more about that. So where are we heading on this? I mean, it seems like it's going to be a constitutional fight ahead. I mean,
Yeah.
because this doesn't just, we're not talking about travel. I mean, we're talking about travel. We're talking about businesses, universities, sporting events. We even said at the top of the show, the Miami Heat, the NBA team, now has 2 sections open for vaccinated people only. Rick, what in the world is going on in America?
We have school districts that are separating the kids based on whether or not they wear a mask and putting the unmasked children, the families that are actually smart enough to understand this is child abuse, to force a child to wear a mask all day long at school when they are no danger to anyone else, no danger to themselves. It's unbelievable. And so the parents that are smart enough to do that, their kids in some school districts are being put in special ed if they don't wear a mask. David, this is so bad. I mean, the ramifications of this, we can't even fathom where this goes in terms of the child abuse and the psychological damage of the kids, but let alone our freedoms. So it definitely will not stop with COVID. This is a hill on which to die. If we allow the government to require your vaccine papers to move from one place to another, we are opening the door to outright Marxism in our culture. This has got to be stopped. Thank God for Ron DeSantis saying absolutely not in Florida. I got to give props to Greg Abbott. You know, I have gone after him on your show and others a lot. Give props where props are due. The dictator is becoming more benevolent. And he, too, is saying no vaccine passports in Texas. His is not as strong as DeSantis's, but it might actually be the right balance because he's saying no government entity can do it and no business can do it that takes government money. Because there is a private property rights argument here that if it's my business, my property, you know, I should be able to hire and fire at will. I should be able to let people in that I want in and people that I don't. And for any reason whatsoever, I'm kind of a, hardcore free marketer on that. But when you have something like this where they're using these vaccine papers to control people, to separate people, and to create this social credit system that Europe is doing now, incredibly dangerous. And we've really got to think about how far we're going to let this go into our culture.
Rick Green, founder of PatriotAcademy.com. Really appreciate you. I want to have you back on. We have you all the time to talk about the business aspect of this and the free market principles there. Rick, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, David.
All right. And by the way, someone came up to me the other day and said, so you getting vaccinated? I'm like, hey, wait a minute. HIPAA laws, not that it's HIPAA laws, but it's none of your business. Well, why is everybody asking me my medical condition? Huh?